last week we spoke about a 15-year-old boy who had the audacity to publicly proclaim that the Church of Scientology was a cult. And for his efforts, he was arrested under what amounts to a local ordinance against insulting or threatening public speech. So we have a brief update on that.
Yeah, basically he got out of it. The Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, who are responsible for prosecuting criminal cases in England and Wales, they were asked to comment on this. And let's see here. They basically said, I'm going to quote the guy, in consultation with the City of London Police, we were asked whether the sign was abusive or insulting. Our advice is that it is not abusive or insulting, and there is no offensiveness as opposed to criticism, neither in the idea expressed nor in the mode of expression. So I don't think it actually went to court. I think it just went to more of a hearing, and it was thrown out pretty much.
Right.
Good thing for him. If you could see some of the videos of the actual event happening, which a few listeners emailed in, and it is pretty interesting. And the police actually were not abusive. They seemed to handle the whole thing okay. And a few more notes of interest here. Actually, Anonymous said that someone who spoke to Anonymous or a member of Anonymous said they see the police as referees at their protests, and like all good referees, they need to understand the rules. And according to Anonymous, the police are bringing this as to some sort of a test case so that everyone can understand what the rules actually are. Mm-hmm. So they suppose that this was a test case to bring an end to the question on whether or not what they were doing was wrong.
Does the fact that the charges were dropped essentially mean that it's not a test case because it didn't go forward, or was that what they were hoping? Did they accomplish that with the charges being dropped?
I'm not exactly sure if it was all premeditated to push the button to make this thing happen or not.
Yeah.
But in the end, this was a test case. This situation did set the standard on how it's going to be treated in the future. And
so I know in the UK things are different than here in the United States. In the US, if the charges are dropped or a person's found not guilty on a technicality or whatever, that doesn't really set the precedent. That doesn't accomplish anything. You want it to go to a judge ruling. And in fact, you want it to get to higher courts so that the higher the court, the greater the precedent. And of course, the Supreme Court is the ultimate precedent. So often, challenges like this that are done deliberately are done because you want a decision at a high court. In England, I know things work differently because they don't have the same kind of judicial, constitutional, ultimate power, that exists in the United States. In other words, legislators can make whatever law they want. They don't have a Supreme Court that could say this is unconstitutional.
So in response to the CPS, the London Police said the CPS review of this case includes advice on what action or behavior at a demonstration might be considered to be threatening, abusive, or insulting.
Yeah.
And the force's policing of future demonstrations will reflect this advice. So
okay.
That's pretty conclusive.
Yeah, so there is a precedent there, although it didn't get rid of the law. It just maybe weakened it a little bit or said, this kind of behavior is allowed within this law.
I suspect at the next protest in London, every single kid there is going to have a sign with the word cult on it, to which I say,
right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Or maybe they might push the envelope a little bit further and see what they can get away with.
Like they might say they're a dirty cult.
Yeah.
The 15-year-old boy still remains unnamed, which is probably a good thing. But they did interview his mother in this report, and she declared that this was a quote-unquote victory for free speech, which we agree. And she said, "We're all incredibly proud of him. We advised him to take the placard down when we realized what was happening. But he said, 'No, it's my opinion, and I have a right to express it.'"
Good for him.
So pretty brave and pretty bold for a 15-year-old kid.